So with the fall season almost here, tobacco is a spectacular ingredient that I personally like wearing in my fragrances, and there are so many tobacco-based fragrances out there, many of which I considered heavily on putting into this list and it just didn't make it. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the top 10 best tobacco fragrances for the fall/autumn of 2023. These are some of the best fragrances you can get your hands on, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin today's episode and I tell you about these top 10 amazing tobacco-based fragrances, some are spicy, some are sweet, some are dulcet, some are mellifluous, but we have a really nice variety here for you today. I want to start the video off first by saying that if you like top 10 videos, reviews on brand new fragrances, so on and so forth, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and also give this video a thumbs up. It would really mean a lot to me. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I put this one in the number 10 spot just because it is, I think, discontinued and it's really hard to acquire, but it is one of my favorites of all time, and it's by the brand Eau de Tali, and it's called Bois d'Ombry. This one is composed by Bertrand Duchaufour, one of my favorite perfumers. This has carrot in it, it has leather in it, it has whiskey, cognac, the finest tobacco, some really smooth woods. This one is very pensive, very mysterious, very masculine, elegant as well. It has a very classy personality to it, but of course it is discontinued. If there's a way for you to get a sample of it, I would totally recommend it. Here we have one by Cécile Zarokian. She's such an amazing perfumer. Opus 14 Royal Tobacco by Amouage. I've done a review on it. I think I've reviewed every single fragrance in this list, but this one is all about the incense, the agarwood, and the spices. So there's olibanum, which is frankincense. It's very ethereal, it's very resonant, it's very meditative, pensive as well, just like the first one, but this is much darker. I would have put it higher up on this list, except it's so bold. It's so daring, it doesn't have that mass appeal to it, and I mentioned this in my review. There's cardamom in here, there's elemi resin, there's olibanum, there's a ton of spices and incense and woods. It's really dark. But if you're into longevity, this is going to be one of the longest lasting fragrances, if not the longest lasting fragrance on this entire list. So I would totally recommend it. Look, are you looking for a fresh tobacco fragrance? Montabaco Verano by GOURMAND. This stuff is basically cashmere, tobacco, grapefruit. It's a really fresh, bright, airy experience. Again, a little bit more safe for the office, I would say, much more so than these two, certainly not Royal Tobacco. Montabaco Verano is very classy, youthful, distinguished, and it has a compliment factor to it. So if you're looking for a tobacco fragrance that is very easy to wear, easy to pull off, is going to get you a lot of compliments, I would totally recommend Montabaco Verano. How can we forget about the tobacco, vanilla, and cinnamon combination that is Herod by Parfums de Marly? So now we're dealing with something on the more sensual and romantic side of things. This is one personally I love wearing in the fall just because it has that sweet spice in there. You know, with Royal Tobacco, it's a very dark spice. Some might even go as far as calling it aggressive. This one with the cinnamon is a sweet, spicy experience. I love Herod. Of course, we also have, oh boy, this one has a lot of agarwood in it. This one is Red Tobacco by Mancera. How do you make a tobacco list and not include red tobacco? It has to be on there. Of course, this one is a few years old, and they also made an intense version, if I'm not mistaken. So some people might have kind of allowed this one to fall by the wayside, but red tobacco, if you're looking for something really dark, really strong, really potent. Of course, there's also Mystery Tobacco by Carolina Herrera. There's also Virtus by Navitus Parfums. And even when it comes to the airy side of things, there is Tabaron Millésime by Creed, and also Vintage Tabaron. You'll see there's a lot of tobacco-based fragrances that did not make this list just because I really wanted to include the best of the best. Tobacco Vanille by Tom Ford, a must-have on any tobacco list. This one has pioneered the note of tobacco in so many ways. And of course, there's Faden's Tabac Rouge, smells very similar to Tobacco Vanille. It's pretty much a clone of Tobacco Vanille, but I had to include the original. This is more than a decade old, and this is a phenomenal fragrance. Tobacco Vanilla, it smells like pipe tobacco, like a cherry flavored, moist pipe tobacco. It is amazing. Very mysterious, very gentlemanly. It smells like you're in a gentleman's club. It's quite amazing. So now here we have the perfumer for a lot of Xerjoff fragrances. His name is Chris Maurice, and he worked on a fragrance for Vivamore Parfum called Tobacco Supreme. This fragrance is a woody, spicy tobacco. There's geranium, so it has this classy personality in the heart, but there's a lot of cedarwood. Cedarwood for me also has a bit of a peppery personality, so this is a dark, woodsy, resolute, long-lasting extrait de parfum tobacco-based fragrance. So if you're looking for a long-lasting, woodsy expression of tobacco, you're gonna go with Tobacco Supreme. So here's one that has been really, really high up on my radar, and this one has, I think both, it has a boozy element, so there is this sort of like a whiskey personality to it. So it's a boozy tobacco. This one is called Liquor BPM by L'Orchestre Parfum. This stuff is amazing. It is one of my best discoveries of 2023. I fell head over heels in love with it, and it's a tobacco-based fragrance that is boozy that's also very easy to wear. It is on the dark side of things, like Bois d'Ombry. This is also a boozy tobacco. So now, due to the discontinuation of this one, I'm gonna be wearing Liquor BPM in its place. And now, pause the video. Drop your comment down below. Let me know what tobacco-based fragrance is unquestionably going to be in any tobacco list. I know you're gonna get it right. And you're probably thinking to yourself, how did he not mention this one yet? But this one is obviously one of the biggest tobacco-based fragrances. Xerjoff Noxus, part of the 1861 collection. This stuff is amazing. Of course, it smells very similar to Pure Havane by Thierry Mugler. Naxos is higher quality in my opinion. Of course, it has this, honey tobacco personality, and Herod almost gives off a honey-like vibe. And there's another one by Bertrand Duchaufour that I almost included in this list called To My Father by Wilhelm Parfums. So I gave this list pretty heavy consideration, but that one doesn't have tobacco in the note breakdown. It does have ambrette and a bunch of other ingredients, despite giving off a tobacco vibe. But I wanted to include Naxos in the number 2 spot. This stuff is phenomenal. Let me tell you about the number 1 fragrance. The number 1 fragrance is one of the most special fragrances I've ever encountered. I'm so proud to have this one in my collection, and I'm so glad that I acquired it when I did. And I actually put it on again yesterday to remind myself of it. This stuff is phenomenal. It has tobacco, coffee, and rose. You can imagine this very sophisticated, elegant gentleman. It has this, really special aesthetic to it. This really almost like brooding charm about it. It has this Edgar Allan Poe quality to it. It's dark, it's sensual on account of the rose. It has this really unique, enigmatic, but also like really peculiar quality about it that is so special. And you smell it in the air, it's so mesmerizing, it's so intoxicating, it's so entrancing and alluring. And I've really, really, really fallen in love with this fragrance. And I went a few months without wearing it, and then I tried it again recently, as I said, and I just fell in love with it all over again. And I'm so glad that I didn't neglect it or overlook it, because I know I'm going to be wearing this one so much, almost to the point of it being a signature scent for me. This one by Meo Fushiuni is called Little Song. Now, the good news about this one, and this is not a sponsored video by the way, but it is on scentsplit.com. So I'm going to leave the link down below so you can get a tiny little sample of it if you'd like. It's a 100 ml, and it has this, it's an Italian-based brand, by the way. It has this beautiful, almost dark, brooding, mysterious, pensive, meditative aesthetic to it. It is mysterious, but it's also very warm-hearted. It's genial. It has a sensitive side. It has a sympathetic side to it. It is one of the most beautiful fragrances that I have in my collection. And what I love about it is, with the perfumer taking more of a unique, I don't want to say indie approach, but it is an artisanal approach to the composition of this fragrance. It's not going to smell like anything else, right? Tobacco Vanille, there's 100 Tobacco Vanille fragrances on the market. Red Tobacco, there's a lot of other fragrances that are in the same wheelhouse. Even Naxos, you're going to find a lot of that on the market. When it comes to Little Song, it stands on its own, standing firmly on a pillar of its own. It can't be dethroned. It's a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Look, thank you so much for joining me today. These are my 10 favorite tobacco-based fragrances at the moment, and I couldn't do without them. This is going to carry me through the fall and winter of 2023. Why don't you go ahead and leave your comments down below? Let me know, what is your favorite tobacco-based fragrance? Do you even like the note of tobacco? I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, look, I don't smoke, I don't want to smell like tobacco, no thank you. I totally respect that. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, why don't you go ahead and show your support by hitting the subscribe button, hitting the bell icon, giving this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow with a new episode. Bye.